Zhaohan Shen. Thank you for joining us on France 24, sir. We knew then that a response from China was coming after Pelosi's visit, but have you been surprised today by the scale of these military drills?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, the scale of this exercise is unprecedented. This is the first time that we had long-range ballistic missiles shot over the medium line separating the Taiwanese island as well as mainland China. Crossing the medium line is a historical feat by China. It also escalates tensions both diplomatically and militarily with the Taiwanese authorities. 4 of these missiles had actually flown over the capital city of Taiwan, Taipei City, and 5 of which had also hit the Japanese economic exclusive zone, as well as the deployment of 22 People's Liberation Army fighter jets. This is a huge move by China in terms of to show off its military strength.
And the big question today is just how far is Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, prepared to go? What do you think?
That's a good question. If we see in terms of the timeline for the Chinese Communist Party, there is the 20th Chinese Communist Party National Congress, which is happening this November. What we are expected to see is Xi Jinping to be elected for a 3rd term, as well as quote-unquote president for life within China. So there is domestic pressure for Chinese President Xi Jinping to act on these domestic pressures, but as well as rhetoric that has been put on by the state Chinese media has also led to these exercises to be done in the way that we've seen so far. However, I think a caution would be to say that this exercise is a dress rehearsal for war, but I would not account it to, or most analysts would agree that this would not lead to a regional conflict or World War III. Because what we've seen so far is the economic sanctions that have been placed on Taiwan has been quite light. We've seen some economic sanctions on food products, for instance, but not necessarily on the biggest export that Taiwan currently does, it's semiconductor chips.
We'll come to the economics of this later on if we can, but just on a little of what you've had to say, is it your view then that if perhaps not now, but at some point, China will try to take Taiwan by force?
It's very hard to tell currently, but the Taiwanese Ministry of Defense had said that China do have the capability to invade Taiwan right now. And if so, there's also a specific deadline, which is 2025, when the Chinese government intends on taking, or according to Taiwanese estimates, the island. So it's really hard to tell what the next move is, but I would be very anxious regarding these exercises, because it may lead, if there's an accidental casualty or a misstep or miscalculation by the Chinese People's Liberation Army, then we could see some form of escalation soon.
That could be obviously extremely serious indeed, but perhaps what's holding Xi Jinping back is concerns about the repercussions on the Chinese economy should conflict break out. What do you think?
In terms of what the economic sanctions or the effect that China may see, Taiwan, for instance, produces over 50% of the semiconductor chips around the world, 90% of the advanced microchips in the world. If there was a conflict, I think it would be, it begs the question, who would supply these semiconductor chips for China to fuel its economy? And another question as well is, if war breaks out, the economic damage will not only be heavy for the Taiwanese people, but it will also be felt by the Chinese people as well.
Zhaohan Shen, we're out of time, but I want to thank you very much indeed for coming in to speak to us today.